Alright, I'm going to be showing you how to shade with drawing pencils. I have all of my drawing pencils right here from lightest to darkest. It goes HB, B, 2B, 4B, 6B, and 8B. So let's get started. My goal is to create a range from white to black and then show all of those values in between with it slowly getting darker into the black value. So I'm going to start with my HB, which is my lightest pencil, and I'm going to skip this first box because I want it to be white, and I'm going to start in the second box. And I'm not going to hold my pencil like I would to write. Instead, I'm going to choke back on my pencil and kind of hold it at the end like this so that I can use this side of the graphite and get a really nice even coverage. So I'm going to start in this second box, and I'm just going to do a light, not a lot of pressure, but just a light even value, staying inside of my lines. And I'm going to do this light even value all the way down. And it's so light you can barely see it on the document camera. That's how we want it. We want it to be just a step above white. So I'm taking this value all the way down to the end. I'm holding my pencil the same way the whole time. And I'm just filling in that nice value. Okay? And then we're going to move on to our next pencil, which is a B. And I'm going to start in the 1, 2, 3rd box, and I'm going to hold my pencil the exact same way, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to add a little bit of value, getting it a little bit darker. I'm holding about the same pressure. I'm letting my pencil do the work in darkening my values for me. So I'm not really changing the pressure. I'm just doing a light shade all the way down to the last box. Okay? You can see it's gradually getting darker. And then I'm going to move into my next pencil, which is my 2B. I'm going to go into my 1, 2, 3, 4th box. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, holding my pencil the same way, and I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm adding a tiny bit of pressure, but nothing crazy. And I'm just bringing that all the way down. Same exact thing. Alright. And then I'm going to move into my next pencil, which is my 4B. So it looks a little bit different, but there it is. And I'm going to go into my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th box. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, holding my pencil the same way, using the side of the graphite. I'm going to add a little bit more pressure this time, just to make sure that this box is darker than this one, but just by a little bit. I'm going to bring that all the way down to the end. Okay? And then I'm going to pick up my next pencil, which is my 6B. And I'm going to go into my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th box. And I am going to fill this one in. And this time I'm adding a little bit of pressure. I'm holding my pencil the same way, but I'm adding a little bit of pressure just to make sure it's getting darker. Okay? And then I'm going to take my last pencil, which is my 8B, which is my darkest pencil. You can see how thick the lead is. And I'm just going to fill in this last box with this 8B. I'm adding a little bit of pressure to make sure that it gets to that dark black value. And then I have a nice scale from light to dark, and then all of those values in between. Okay? All right, next we are going to do the cylinder. Okay, so for my cylinder, I'm going to use this type of shading technique that we just used up here, but I'm going to put it into a practical element. So I'm going to start with my lightest pencil once again, which is my HB. And then what I'm going to do first is I'm going to carve out my highlight, which is going to be the brightest part of my cylinder. And this is my light source. It's coming from this way. So that means that my highlight is going to be right here, right under the light source. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little shape to carve out that highlight so I know not to draw in this section because that's going to be my bright white highlight. I'm going to ignore the top, and I'm going to come back to that later. I'm going to start with my HB pencil, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did up at the top, and I'm going to start shading everywhere except the highlight. And I'm using that same pencil holding technique, and I'm doing a really light value just right up until the highlight. And I'm going to take this all the way across my whole cylinder. Right, and then once I do that, then I'm going to move up to my next pencil, which is my B, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did up here. I'm going to skip a little bit, and I'm going to start doing my B a little bit further out, and I'm going to do the exact same thing and just pull it all the way to the edge over here. So I've got a light, a B, or an HB, and then a B value. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to skip a little bit of space after my highlight, and then I'm going to go in there with my B and start to fill that in. So every little step that I take, it's slowly getting a little bit darker. Okay, and then I'm going to move into my next pencil, which is my 2B. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to skip a little bit of space where I just drew with the B, and I'm going to add my 2B. So up on this side, we're running out of room here. That's all right. Just bringing it right up to the edge. All right, so just a little bit on that side. And on my other side, I'm going to skip my highlight, my HB, my B, and then I'm going to add my 2B in here. This time I'm adding a little bit more pressure. I'm trying to get a little bit darker, but I'm bringing that all the way over to the side and filling all of that in. All right, and then I'm going to move into my 4B, just moving up the scale. And I'm only going to add a little bit just kind of on this side because we're pretty much done on this side. Just darken it up just a little bit to show that it turns around. And then I'm going to skip. I have my white, my HB, my B, my 2B, and then I'm just going to go in there with my 4B a little bit further away and bring that all the way to the edge. Right, and then I'm going to take my 6B, just moving up the line, and I'm going to skip over here because we're pretty much done over here, and I'm just going to add a little bit over on this side, just slowly getting darker over here. And then finally, I'm going to take my 8B, and I'm just going to go along the side and kind of make it really dark along the side to show that it's 3D and that it curves. And so then, the reflection's kind of not great, but I have a completed cylinder that looks 3D and round. Okay, so that's what it should look like. All right, and then for the top can just be a solid value because it's just the light hitting it flat. So I'm just going to use a light value because the light's hitting it right there. I'm just going to use my 2B, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of shading. I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter as we get closer to the highlight. So it's just a little bit light, and then it gets a little bit darker. So it looks like that. Okay? All right. Next, I'm going to shade my circle, and I'm basically going to do the exact same thing that I just did with my cylinder, but I'm going to do it in a circular motion. So I'm going to start with my lightest pencil, which is my HB. My highlight is right here, so that means that my highlight on my circle is going to be right here. And the highlight is going to be circle shape. So on this one, it was cylinder shape. On this one, it's going to be circle shape. So I'm going to draw out a circle. And then that's where I know that I'm not going to fill in because that needs to be my bright white highlight. And then what I'm going to do with the rest is I'm going to fill it in with my light HB value. And I'm not going back and forth because that's not going to look circular. I'm using circular motions with my pencil and filling that in going back and forth. So if you notice my wrist or my hand, I've got big circular motions to push that pencil around. So I'm not moving the pencil like this. Big circular motions. All right, so I'm filling this guy in. Because if your lines look straight, then your circle is not going to look very straight in the end. So I'm filling this guy in. Circular motions. Press my paper. Okay. All right. Next, I'm going to take my next pencil, which is my B. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to skip a little bit of space, and then I'm going to start making the rest of it darker. So skipping a little bit of space where my HB just was, and then I'm just going to fill in the rest with those same circular motions, making sure to get everywhere. Alright, and then next I'm going to take my 2B, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm going to scooch out a little bit, and I'm slowly making it darker as we go around the circle. So I'm going to take my 2B out, bring that all the way around, turn my paper. Okay. Next, I'm going to take my 4B, and I'm going to continue getting a little bit darker. So the further away we move, the darker it's getting. This time I'm adding a little bit more pressure just to make sure it gets darker. I'm going to blend it into my other value. And then I'm going to move into my 6B. Okay, let's get it to focus. Alright, with my 6B I'm going to do the same thing. And this time I'm just going a little bit to the edge, just slowly getting darker as we get down to the edge of our circle, to show that it is 3D. So just a little bit with the 6B. And then I'm just going to take my 8B, and I'm just going to hit the edges of my circle just to show that it gets really dark as it starts to hit the bottom, and the farther from the light source, the darker it's going to get. So I'm trying to show that. And then when you're done, you should have a nice shaded sphere. We'll let it, I'm going to fix this right in here. Get it to focus. And then I've got a nice shaded sphere. And it goes from being flat to looking 3D. So yeah, good job.